Good day, folks. This is Bob. Concerned Bob. Why is the Bob concerned? Because, there's a lot of stuff that's happening that can have some real bad repercussions for the world and India, right? The way the world's churning and different powers are attempting to find themselves and make use of these gaps that are being created, right? Of course, there is the Indian general elections, which could throw up many surprises, but more about that later. Where's my biggest worry? My biggest worry is the Middle East, right? We've had much fanfare, the I2, U2, much fanfare, the deal that we signed for during the G20 for a highway from India to Europe. All that has been unraveled by this war in Gaza. It's not going well for Israel at all. No, you might think so, but it's a disaster, publicity disaster in terms of what's happening. There is immense internal pressure building from the population of Israel. But think about this. You know how many Indian nurses and construction workers are being sent to Israel? So where are their people? Fighting or run away? Who knows, right? They run away, but the Israelis also do run away from their country and don't want to really fight, right? Sometimes, which is happening now. Can Netanyahu survive this? And in comes one of the most stupid actions that they took was going and bombing the Iranian. I call it stupid. I'm blatant enough to call it stupid, to attack the Israeli embassy in Damascus. It's not a terrorist hub by any stretch of anybody's imagination. Based on that, anybody could be, right? Any way could be, right? But it's a Netanyahu playbook. It's his goddamn plan. It's his plan. It's his plan to get Iran into the war so that the pressure that's now building on the United States, where Biden has now beginning to say, boss, if you don't shape up and treat the civilians well in Gaza, because he's facing a blowback in his constituency in the United States, all bets are off. He says our relationship with Israel will depend on how they treat the population of Gaza. It is a result of which Netanyahu is running all over the place. Don't believe in all this bravado. Without the United States, Israel is done and dusted. I mean, it is done and dusted, right? So for them to pretend on something, they keep firing the gun off the United States shoulder. That's what it is, right? Israel boosts defense after Iran threat to avenge killing of generals. Biden calls Netanyahu seeks immediate ceasefire in Gaza. New Delhi's balancing act in chaotic West Asia. This is something of a worry for India, because this is one area that I also thought was going well for India. But now it's become chaotic after what the Israelis did in Damascus, right? India has been adept at expanding its footprint in West Asia and juggling relationship with Israel and Arab countries. Its diplomacy will be tested if the Gaza war continues indefinitely or if relations between Israel and Arab nations further decline, right? And what's happening in Iran could play a huge effect. And then this is the other one. Lean into the Levant Delhi. India has skin in the game in the West Asia conflict. It needs to tough talk with Iran and Israel. She says, this is Indrani Bagchi, the terror attacks and subsequent war put paid to India's hope of a grand regional connectivity project, IMEC, an economic corridor through the Gulf, Levant to Europe. Iranian missiles targeting Indian ships in the Arabian Sea added a layer to the security and economic challenge the West Asian war had thrown up. To add, Somalian pirates popped up on the seas and guns for hire, possibly by the same set of actors keeping Indian Navy and Coast Guards on their toes. India now needs to lean in to help stabilize the region because it is too important to be left to outside powers. Narendra Modi's conversation this week with UAE President MBZ is a key effort following on from S. Jaishankar's recent visit to Tehran. So the role Saudi Arabia and the UAE will be crucial. This is a conflict where India has skin in the game. New Delhi needs to step up and have those tough conversations with Tehran and with Israel. So this recent one that we abstain is weak. First batch of workers going to Israel under G2G Pact says onward. This is what I'm saying. We are sending all our children, which we cannot give employment, especially in Haryana and UP, to guess where? Israel and Russia. Collaborating with Cambodia, rescued 250 Indians, MEA. Indians #1 in obtaining citizenship of rich nations. What does it show for the economy? The rich are running away. The others are being forced into jobs everywhere, including in Cambodia as crime slaves. Right? And you think that investment is going to come to Gift City because alcohol ban is so nobody has a reason not to come. Gift City, MD. This has got to be the biggest joke ever. And this has got to be the biggest delusion ever. Right? US-China military talks resume in Hawaii after nearly 2-year break. And why is that? Because you suddenly find Rajnath Singh and Jai Shankar, who's supposed to be a tough guy, mate, right? Tough guy, because even the US is saying he's a tough guy. But he's only being tough against America and Canada and Germany. But he's not being tough against where he needs to be tough. That is China. De-escalation, way forward talks will continue, says Rajnath. Rajnath is the biggest letdown as a defense minister. What do you mean de-escalation? It was status quo ante. Folks, just let me tell you, it's status quo ante. Anything less than that is given up a whole bunch of land. Government reply to China, weak and meek remarks on Indira ridiculous. Absolutely right. So whenever you need a bully boy, out you come, Rajnath. Okay. Won't show mercy if someone tries to threaten India, says Rajnath. Why are you showing mercy to China, sir? India will enter even Pak to kill terrorists, says Rajasthan, says Rajnath. Well, Pakistan it is, right? But Quad needs a security thrust to restrict China, but it's losing the plot because the US has given up on India, I think, right? This David Goliath fight is not a routine bilateral dispute. The regional order in the Indo-Pacific and by extension the world order itself are at stake. The increasing tempo of harassment and probe-beating of inferior Filipino boats and ships by the Chinese Coast Guard and Navy in locations like the second Thomas Shoal of the Spratly Islands are meant to provoke and instill fear in smaller Asian countries that definitely seem to have instilled fear in India, right? Unlike the mutually reinforcing loop of hesitation is overcome, China cannot be halted in its tracks. She is a practitioner of Mao Zedong's maxim, the power grows out of the barrel of a gun, and that's true for India too, right? Quad, AUKUS and bilateral strategic partnerships in Asia must have strong security component. India's sale of BrahMos anti-ship missiles to the Philippines and its unequivocal firm support for the national sovereignty of the Philippines are steps in the right direction. Securitization of regional partnerships is the only hope. Otherwise, China will keep seizing territories and squeezing adversaries until the world order is remade as per its wishes. That is true for India too. So this is where my worry comes in when China is out there trying to rupture the world order, is Ladakh and Arunachal. Section 144 imposed in Leh ahead of March on LAC. As it is, Wang Chuk is telling us exactly how much land has been hogged up by the Chinese. He's telling us that. The members of parliament, MLAs of both Arunachal and Ladakh are telling us that. Our government doesn't tell us that, right? And also what the fact is, the people who were used to fight in this area, the Ladakh scouts, the Gorkhas, the Sikhs, are all disillusioned. The Gorkhas because of the Agniveer, Ladakh because of what's happening there, and Sikhs also because of Agniveer and the farmer protests, right? Power play in Ladakh, right, by Peace Troop done. In the aftermath of SC's verdict on Article 370 abrogation, Centre will need to do more to dispel the disquiet in the Union territory. Absolutely will. China marks 65th Tibet takeover anniversary along border villages. Amid LSE row, China renames 30 more locations in Arunachal. India rejects China's senseless Arunachal Act, says invented names can't alter reality. Well, I'm going to ask Jai Shankar. I would like my house is written Chandra. If somebody changes the name from there from Chandra to something else, does it matter? Of course it does. Of course it does. One China, what's that? Beijing's Arunachal game should make New Delhi bolder on Taipei. Stand with quake hit Taiwan. He says, additionally, New Delhi should explore and facilitate high-level political and technical visits with Taiwan. The latter is a semiconductor giant and India is already seeking bilateral cooperation in the sector. There is no need to look over our shoulder at Beijing when engaging Taipei. India can start by offering earthquake relief assistance to Taiwan. China cannot dictate our Taiwan policy, but it seems to be doing so. Why DC Beijing wants stability? This is important for us. The US is seeking a tactical pause. Beijing wishes to use the moment to extract strategic advantage vis-a-vis Washington. The incentives for both sides to talk are clear. The US is embroiled in two wars, Ukraine and Gaza, and neither is going well from its perspective. It's an election year at home, and the Biden administration neither wants third front to open nor a destabilized global economy. The Xi regime is struggling with its own economic woes. It believes that a signal of accommodation with the US will dampen the spirit of its adversaries who happen to be American allies in Asia, and it needs continued US engagement for some more years to bridge the gap in the global system. Neither side trusts the other intent, and both closely track each other's capabilities. Finally, neither side has any illusions that engagement will lead to the resolution of the structural competition. It just can't. Taiwan verdict reflects anti-China sentiment. It absolutely does. The victory, DPP candidate Lai Ching in 224 Taiwanese presidential election is remarkable given that no party has previously secured a third consecutive term. For long, New Delhi has kept Taiwan at bay so as not to anger China, which has reciprocated by systematically targeting Indian interests. It may be time now for India to shed these hesitations of history to script a bolder inning with Taiwan. That's what I'm saying. You can be trying to be brave. Now you're being brave, or you're trying to show off a small chest, an inflated chest with the United States and Germany. It didn't help it. US is kicking you where it hurts. And you know that. And unfortunately, they don't tell us that. Taiwan snubs Xi again. Small country, snub Xi. But do we snub Xi? No, we just make platitude. Oh, de-escalation. Oh, we are too small to take on. Results of presidential polls confirms the growing constituency of local Taiwanese identity. Beijing can do little about this trend. Taiwan talks straight. When are we going to talk straight, right? After his victory, Lai declared, we are telling the international community that between democracy and authoritarianism, we will stand on the side of democracy with India, right? Indeed, voters in Taiwan have sent the world a big message by not only defying Chinese threats and showing the contempt for Beijing's behavior, but also by standing resolutely in defense of their values. This has made Taiwan one of the most pivotal players in today's global order. Where are we? Where are we? Pro-sovereignty Lai wins Taiwan elections. Taiwan independence moves will be harshly punished as China. And then you have, careful, it's the year of the dragon, says Vijay Gokhale. China doesn't see India as an equal, but hardening global perceptions about Beijing might create opportunities for fresh bilateral approach. But folks, are we brave enough to take them? Or are we going to spend time continuing to harp about the Americans interfering in India's interests, Germany interfering about internal affairs? Ain't gonna happen. Seeing India-China ties through Taiwan. Dhruv Jaishankar. Conflict over Taipei's political status will have strategic and economic consequences for Delhi. But the strategic consequences of Taiwan conflict could prove as catastrophic as the economic situation for India. China's forceful reunification with Taiwan would dramatically increase the probability of a unipolar Asia. New Delhi realizes that a multipolar world which it seeks in order to facilitate its own rise is impossible without a multipolar Asia. As long as Chinese hegemony in the broader Indo-Pacific can be expected to have adverse consequences for India's rise and ambitions, Taiwan's future will remain of critical importance for New Delhi. But what are we doing about that? She holds the Trump card. Now, why does she want Trump? China has reasons to wish for Trump's return based on his past record. The former president, possibly future president, is capable of alienating Europe from the US. Beijing desperately wants to see an alienated Europe ignore Washington advice about dealing with Beijing and enhancing its relationship with Chinese companies. So if Trump can hit China with his tariff measures, he could actually help implement Xi's larger plans. Will that happen? Probably not. America keeps an advantage over China. It certainly is. And guess what Jaishankar says? The strong man. Time ripe to bring in global cultural rebalancings is here. So what he means is time to bring on Putin's style and Xi's style of democracy. Watch the wolf in sheep in wolf's clothing. Wolf in sheep's clothing, whatever. Jaishankar and Xi meet after 6 months on Munich event sidelines. How Delhi maps the world, right, Rajamohan? It maps, but it's going nowhere. Island states from South Pacific to African coast are new nodes in India's changing strategic geography. Without the relevant resources, Mr. Ram, we will not get there. We should worry about our periphery first. Hasina may visit India within days of new government. But what we are having is trying to get our FTAs together with European Union, right? India EFTA may finally finalize 100 billion trade deal soon. FTA talks, India begins hard bargain on non-tariff barriers with European Union. EFTA looks to deal with India soon. Norway minister. India, Greece look to firm up, keep pact and boost ties. Clear political will in Berlin. How to boost defense ties with India, German envoy. Europe, still we have. But I think we made the mistake of calling the ambassador of Germany. That'll have hell to pay too, because the US is still holding. Will stay engaged with India on Pannu plot, US official. The city draws red line on Pannu plot. But like they say, US hasn't asked India to cut Russian oil import, says official. But let me tell you, the harassing targeted sanctions now are making it extremely difficult for India to buy Russian oil, which is on the high seas. That's why most of the parcels are going to China. And the other thing, folks, don't think that Russia has an edge over Ukraine. It doesn't. Why? On the Kiev front, the West is losing ground, as Dhruv Shankar right. I totally disagrees. And 2 years on, elusive peace. Only one side in the Russian-Ukraine conflict is committed to finding a solution, and that's Ukraine. Hope India plays key role in summit on Russian invasion. I hope so too, but probably won't. US targets Russia with hundreds of sanctions over Ukraine, Navalny's death. This is what I'm saying, and it's hurting us. A war of attrition. A Russia-Ukraine conflict enters its third year. Russia's military strategy is grinding down Ukraine's capabilities. Is it? I don't know, because then you have this. NATO proposes 100 billion 5-year fund for Ukraine. Okay. Stalemate in Ukraine, and NATO is an expansion, writes Manoj Joshi. Macron won't rule out West's boots on the ground in Ukraine. Sweden finally in NATO ends decades of neutrality. EU restates its mandate with Ukraine aid deal. And then destroyed Russian military planes in big drone strike, claims Ukraine. So Ukraine is not out. It's out there in the Black Sea, folks. It's destroying the Black Sea fleet. Russian banks plan FPI arms to invest private wealth in India. They really don't have a choice. Russia targets Kiev after Putin vows revenge for border strikes. US threatening sanctions to spoil India-Russia ties, Moscow envoy. India purchased Russian oil worth 37 billion, claims European think tank. Foreign minister defends ties with Russia, says it has never hurt India. Actually, that's a lie. It really has. It lied to us in Tashkent. It also lied to us in the Tibetan Autonomous Region before the Chinese came in. We'll start talks with Sri Lanka to get fishing rights of Kachiveyo EM. Now, here is destruction of foreign policy, right? Jaishankar made this whole policy himself. Now to go ahead and say, blame it on Indira Gandhi, that's kind of strange. Why Kachiveyo isn't such a catch? For the perspective of India's other more complicated border problems, laying claims over a small barren island isn't worth the trouble. Worry about Pakistan. ISKP common factor in attack on Chinese, Pakistan, Russians and Iranians. In the court of Rara Sa Putin, Putin is right when he says that no enduring international order is possible without a strong and sovereign Russia, but it is equally true that long-term trends, serious demographic declines, fraying domestic institutions, weak economic foundations, costs of long attritional war do not generate a sense of confidence that a strong Russia at peace with itself and its neighbors can emerge anytime soon. And that is a challenge for Russian friends and foes alike. Alike, folks. India steadfast with its support of peace in Afghanistan, Deputy NSA Misri. But let me say this, folks. Putin's power playbook has parallels, which we'll discuss later. But right now what I say is that the world is in serious disorder and India is not providing the stability it should be. In fact, India on its own borders is facing tumultuous times, also in its larger periphery. 3 cheers and Jai Hind.